Welcome to Keep Painting Those Miniatures. Today I'm painting Major Maddox from the Cygnar 2016 Battlegroup box. I was unexcited painting this model. I don't like painting humanoid forms generally, especially the ones in armour. I was really disappointed with my work on Infinity, and yeah, this felt like Infinity to me. As usual, I started with the base. I first primed it with Vallejo Primer Black. Then I went through 3 dry brushes. First Vallejo Somber Grey, then a lighter Reaper Concrete Grey, and finally P3 Menoth White Highlight. This created a gradient on the top of the bases, and I felt it really brought them out. For the Major, I started by priming her with Vallejo Primer White. I then airbrushed what I would call the blue sections of her armour with 2 different colours. The first one was P3 Cygnar Base Blue, and then I tried to get the high areas with P3 Cygnar Blue Highlight. It didn't come quite through correctly though. I think I overwatered the highlight. The next piece I chose was the leather armour down near her thighs. I used P3 Bloodstone. I wanted it to be really dark in contrast to the blue. Cygnar being predominantly blue, silver and gold, I did the gold section next, and I went with Army Painted Greedy Gold. I picked out as many sections as I could, but I kept on missing a few, so throughout this you'll see me going back over the gold, and the Army Painted Gold is not very strong. 2 coats are usually required. The next step was her skin. I went with Reaper Caucasian Flesh, and I feel it worked pretty well. I think I ended up doing 2 coats over most of her areas to make it fairly solid over the base. Here I am doing the highlight on the leather armour using P3 Rucksack Tan. I just got a little bit on my brush and dabbed on what I thought were the high sections of the armour, trying to bring it out. For electrical parts of these models, I went with P3 Arcane Blue. I figured inking over the top of that would create a nice sort of strong contrast being such a bright blue, and that's what you can see me doing here. Here I am using Army Painted Gunmetal to pick out all the silver sections on the model. I went around and there are a lot of little rivets and bits and pieces, and I went through and did all those. The next step was her hair. I used Cygnus Yellow. I felt that she was going to end up blonde, and I had an intention of, say, dry brushing over the top or something to make it even lighter, but the yellow is quite good. Throughout the course of the model I had to do a fair bit of cleanup just generally across the model. My lines weren't clean, so I went back with blue and touched it up, as well as fixed some of the airbrushing which wasn't as solid as I wanted. For her hair, I ended up dry brushing P3 Menoth White Highlight over her hair to try and lighten it up a bit more. I didn't like the result as it ended up very white, so I went back and inked it with Army Painter Ink Soft Tone. Her skin required to be inked so I could bring out the detail in her face predominantly. I went with Army Painter Ink Dark Tone, and I just tried to get it, in the eye pits or sockets or whatever you're going to call it, to try and darken it up and bring out the detail. I also did it on the hands, but the face was the sort of prime goal. I inked all her armour and electrical sections with Army Painter Ink Blue. I wanted them to sort of get a bit of shading and contrast, and it's a really easy way to do it, and I recommend it to everybody. Finally, I put her on her base. That required me drilling a hole and then gluing the pins on her feet into place. I had a little bit of trouble, but it wasn't too bad. I also had to glue her arms onto her torso. This is a trickier join, and I think I advise people to do something other than just glue them. Here I am trying out a paint pen I acquired to paint in the forward-facing arc of the model. Now, I had no success with this paint pen. They may be great, but mine was certainly not flowing freely, I'll put it that way. I ended up just painting it in with the Cygnar blue highlight because it just wasn't covering very well. And here she is. I think I did really well. The hair's not really what I wanted, but I think I broke the infinity curse. Keep painting those miniatures, people.